In this video, we will finish implementing the shattering screen effect we started in part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, go check it out. The link is in the video description. And now, have fun with part 2. Okay, let's start with the exploding shattering screen. For that, I create a new coroutine called Shatter with Explosion Force coroutine, where I'm going to use Unity's built-in add explosion force function to make the pieces fly away like in an explosion. And for that to work, we need to give all the pieces a rigid body. But we will disable the gravity for now. And also we won't give them a collider, because we don't really need collisions between the pieces. Then, in our new coroutine, I get each rigid body from all the pieces and add an explosion force with the value of the force, the position, and the explosion radius, which are the variables that I've defined up here. For the explosion position, I first tried to manually define the position, but this is too inconvenient for testing and searching for the right position. So I thought it would be easier to just create an empty game object and take its position as the explosion position. With that, we can easily set our explosion to where we like by just moving our empty game object. And after testing out some values, I get something like this. What you can't see here is that I have to press the explosion key 2 times in order for it to work. I think that is because I activate the shattered screen pieces in the same frame I add an explosion force to the rigid bodies. And that somehow does not work. So, in order to fix this, I just wait 1 frame before adding an explosion force. And then it works as expected. Okay, that's a good first step. But now we need our gravity. Or at least for the explosion part, to make it more realistic. And here we go. Okay, let's tweak some values, and now we have something like this. There's still something missing. Maybe a little bit of rotation for each piece. They seem a bit stiff while flying away. So, back to my code, I define a min and max torque value and add a random torque in the x, y, and z direction for each rigid body. And let's see how that looks like. Much better. I like it. It's not quite finished yet, but let's leave it for now and start rewriting the reset function for this new shatter method. Okay, so in the old reset function, we just needed to re-enable all the pieces, because they were simply disabled in the old shatter function. But with our new function, our pieces will fly away and rotate. So we need to reset their position and also their rotation back to where they were before the shattering. So first, we set all the rigid bodies to sleep so that they stop moving. Then we need a vector 3 and a quaternion array with the size of the number of pieces we have, and save every original position and rotation in our start function. In the reset function, we then loop through all the sleeping rigid bodies and set their position and rotation back to the original values. And also reset our gravity. And it works as expected. Now, another step I wanted to add is some kind of cracking of the screen before it bursts into pieces. We can achieve this by just adding a small random rotation to each piece and wait a small period of time before starting the explosion. Let's test it out. Okay, not too bad. I will tweak the values later, but one thing I realize now is that when looking at the Xenogears battle screen transition, the background is white and fades to black. So in order to recreate it for our scene, I create a new script for our background called ColorFader with a from color and a to color attribute. Then I define a material variable and set it with the material component of our background. Now I write a coroutine that lerps between these 2 colors and changes the background material color accordingly. Depending on how fast we want our color fading to happen, we can change here how much of our delta time gets added to our t value that we use to lerp between these 2 colors. And finally, I write a start color fading function that starts our coroutine. Now we just need to give our shattered screen script a reference to our color fader script and call the start color fading function after our screen starts exploding. And also let's not forget to set our reference in the editor. And now let's see how that looks like. Okay, good. Let's just tweak our rotation values a bit and then write a reset function for the color fader, similar to the other reset functions where I check if the reset function was called during the coroutine. Now we call the ColorFader reset function in our reset function of the shattered screen script, and we are done with the cracking and the color fading. Hey, it's me, from the future. While revisiting my recording, I've realized that I've forgotten to add an if statement here to check if reset is enabled. For the final product, this is not tragic because we don't really need the reset variable. Because in my game, I won't reset the battle transition effect while the effect is still active, but instead after the transition is finished and the battle screen is visible. So basically, way after all this has happened. And also here in this test project, it still works because after we reset everything, we also disable the parent object of our shattered screen. And so the coroutine will stop either way. But anyway, I just wanted to add this part for the sake of completeness. Okay, now back to the present. Basically, we are finished. But still, I want to tweak my explosion a bit, so I'm going to test out different approaches to make it even more to my liking. I put the shattered screen further away, but increase its size so that it still fills out the camera view. I play around with some parameters like the explosion force and the radius. I test different positions of the explosion. And also add a second explosion to the mix. As well as an additional small random force for each piece to spice it up a bit. And some torque value changes. And here we have it, the final result. Nice, now I just need to add it into my own game. Okay, after analyzing my code and remembering why I implemented the things the way I did, I added the new battle screen effect into the existing game. And I must say, I'm quite pleased with the result. I hope you liked this video, and if so, why not give it a thumbs up? Do you have some questions or some tips on how to improve this method? Or simply just want to say hello? Then why not write a comment down below? I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching. And until next time, ciao!